Oh, so chubby. You're so chubby. I don't want to scratch it, but I do, but I don't. I'm pretty sure that all 6 books that I have left in this subscription have to be 4 or 5 stars for me to continue.
Are you feeling like a fine piece of ass?
The more I get into this book, the less I actually enjoy it. This will literally be the worst installment of the Goldsboro vlog series that I've ever done. I think I did a pretty good job.
Saturday wanted to call, but I never know what to say. Taking pictures with my phone, distracting me from my brain. It's 2 p.m. You said just friends. The fuck happened? Yeah, I dreamed I had a million things to hold me over till you call, and now you're somewhere.
Good morning everybody, and welcome to potentially the penultimate installment of Is the Goldsboro Science Fiction and Fantasy Fellowship Worth My Money? So if you guys have never seen any of these vlogs before, I will link the playlist up here for you guys where I go into more detail at the beginning about what we're really doing here. But I am a subscriber of the Goldsboro Science Fiction and Fantasy Fellowship, and because I pay £27-ish a month for this subscription, I wanted to hold myself accountable to actually reading the books, and thus this vlog series was born. Now, when we started, I didn't think that the Goldsboro Science Fiction and Fantasy Fellowship was not going to be worth my money. However, as we have gone along this journey together, we have discovered that potentially this subscription is not worth my money. So the pass mark for this is 50% of the books have to be 4 or 5 stars, and at the minute I think every single book that I need to read in the last 2 installments of this series would have to be 4 or 5 stars for me to continue on with the subscription, and at the minute that is unlikely. If it was really close, if it was like 1 book under the criteria, we would maybe consider keeping it. But yeah, we'll see how these last 2 installments go, I guess. I'm expecting to do the final one shortly after this one concludes. But in this video, we are going to be reading the September, October, and November 2022 picks. The first one, the September pick, is Mindwalker by Kate Dillon. This one is, I think it's a young adult sci-fi, and it is the shortest of the 3 we're going to be reading. I then have the October pick, which is Silver Under Nightfall by Pecco. This one is a paranormal-ish fantasy, and this one is the thickest, I think, of the 3. Potentially not, but I feel like the other one's going to be faster paced, because the November pick is the Immortality Thief by Taron Hunt, which I believe is an adult sci-fi. I will get more into the plot of each one as I'm picking them up. I am going to be reading them in order, so September, October, and then November. But for my predictions for this vlog, I think that my favorite one is going to be Silver Under Nightfall by Pecco. I've read from Pecco before and really enjoyed their work, and this one is a vampire story that has a bit of a romance in it. I think we're following a vampire hunter, and there is a vampire couple in here as well. My prediction for my least favorite is 100% Mindwalker by Kate Dillon. This one it's YA for sure, which is why I don't think I'm gonna love it as much, and I am already 24 pages into it. Not keen on the writing style. And then right in the middle, I think we're gonna have the Immortality Thief. I don't know how this is gonna go. I don't know whether I'm gonna like it or dislike it. I just think I'm gonna definitely dislike this one more and definitely like this one more. So that leaves this one to fall somewhere in the middle, but where on that spectrum it's gonna land, no idea. So the first one, as I mentioned, I have already started, Mindwalker by Kate Dillon. This one is following an 18-year-old girl in a futuristic world where the world has kind of ended. Like, everybody almost killed each other, and humanity was kind of hovering on the brink of extinction. So flash forward to the point where we're at now, and there are the countries and the governments of the countries are trying to keep their population stable and entice people to stay in their countries, and there's a lot of espionage going on, and there's a lot of government like spy agencies, and our main character is a Mindwalker, who is somebody who has a computer planted into their brain at a young age, so that if a government agent is in trouble, they can access that person's brain, and using the supercomputer in their own brain that calculates everything so much faster than the human brain can, they can get them out of this sticky situation, which I'm assuming that, well, I'm pretty sure that spies and like highly trained individuals like that are very valuable, and therefore they don't want them to die, which is why they have this like team or agency of mindwalkers. I don't know much more outside of that, but the synopsis does say that she's given 12 months to live, which I'm assuming has something to do with the fact that her computer has malfunctioned like in the first chapter, and I feel like this is the beginning of the end for her and this computer killing her. So I don't really know like what the scope of the plot's going to be. I did see that it's the first book in a series. I'm not expecting the most from it because it is 311 pages. You guys know I like things to be a little bit longer, but this is where we're up to. I'm excited to be starting with the shortest book this time, because the last two, I think I've started with the longest book of the three, which I feel like has held back my pace. But yeah, this one should be, hopefully, fingers crossed, a decent start to the vlog. And if my predictions of like which ones I'm gonna like and dislike the most are accurate, at least we're starting with the worst of the three. Hey honey, you wanna say hello? I wanna say hello? Oh, so chubby. You're so chubby. You want your dinner? You've got 30 minutes left yet.
And I've got nobody, not even if you kill me, at all to break my fall. I told myself it'd be forever. You surprised me on my worst days. Now you're keeping me on my toes, saying you're on the way. It's 3 a.m. My brain is spent. The fuck is happening? I dreamed I had a million things to hold me over till you come, you come, and now you're somewhere with someone else, and I've got nobody.
So I have not been reading. And it is because, you know, I did the reading like it's my full-time job vlog where I swap all of my working hours for reading hours, and then I can't read outside of working hours. Well, I love that video because it frees up so much of my time. Like when I take away reading in the evenings and in the morning and at lunchtime, it frees up so much of my time to do other things that I enjoy, but also just to do things like working out and walking Brie without feeling rushed, because there's nothing else I have to do. Like that is what I'm doing in the moment. And actually part of my acceptance and moving past how bad my mental health was last year was to be in the moment when I'm overwhelmed, which is a classic anxiety thing that they say, like be in the moment. But the exercises like to be present weren't really working for me. But what did work for me is taking joy in the things that I was doing. So instead of being like, oh, I have to walk Brie, it's cold and I don't want to go out and I'm tired, it was accepting that I have to walk Brie and taking joy in the walking of Brie, because I have to do it regardless. So what's the point in being like miserable about it and dreading it and not wanting to do it? I might as well just enjoy it or accept it if it's something that has to be done. And that's like walking Brie is like an example. I do actually enjoy walking her, but it's like working out. I love working out. I could not work out now. But do I ever want to actually get changed and set up to work out? No. But 10 minutes in, I feel amazing and it's my favorite thing I've done all day. Anyway, what was my point? My point is that I haven't been reading very much because I'm just not in the zone of reading at night. So it's very slow going, even though this is a very fast-paced book. I'm like 85 pages into it. I gotta say I'm not really enjoying it, but I don't feel like I could DNF it at this point because I've read like 25, 30 pages a day since I started it. I haven't given it a fair chance. I might enjoy it more if I was reading it more than like intermittently, but it's very YA in tone. It actually reminds me a lot of J. Christoph's YA sci-fi, which I like when he writes with Amy Kaufman. Love Illuminate, really like the Aurora Cycle, but I don't like Lifelike. So I think it reads a little bit like that, with this like phony badass main character, and it's setting up all of these elements that I do enjoy, but it has no substance or depth right now. So it has the same kind of elements, I guess, like We Hunt the Flame, where it is your typical young adult setup where we have a conflict that needs resolving. I think we very likely have a corrupt system or corrupt society that the main character is going to try and fix, and we have a romantic subplot that's going to be introduced. But like We Hunt the Flame was just constructed and written so much better than this is. I don't like the tone of the main character, and it feels like it's going to be like a fun, fast-paced read, which we all know I don't like. So my plan for this is I'm doing a 24-hour readathon this weekend, and I am making a separate vlog for that. It starts at 7 p.m. tonight, and I'm going to be reading some romance, so obviously the theme of those books doesn't fit into this vlog, which is exclusively Goldsboro books. But I will be doing dice sprints, which if you're unfamiliar is the type of sprints that I do, where we roll 2 six-sided die and each dot on the dice represents 5 minutes. That's how long the sprint will be, and if we roll a double then you have to switch books. So they're the sprints that I always do. All of my Patreon sprints are dice sprints, and it comes from Bookopoly, but I need a switch book because of that, and switching between 2 romance books is just going to really annoy me. And the prompt for the readathon is Who, which is a book that you haven't really heard anybody talk about, you know very little about, so this definitely fits the bill. So I'm going to be reading predominantly romance, and in the instance that we do roll a double, I'll be switching over to this and making my way through a little bit more of this. So my plan is, if I read another like a chunk of this between tonight's sprints and tomorrow's daytime sprints and I'm still not liking it, and I will DNF it at the end of the 24-hour readathon, because it's not taking too much of my attention away, because it's just like a backup book, so it's not like, it won't feel as much of a waste of time persevering with a book that I'm not enjoying. So I guess I'll report back to you guys tomorrow after sprints and let you know where I'm at with that. Today I have to edit last week's vlog. Doing the reading like it's my full-time job vlog as well has just set me back so much because of how much like stuff that I didn't do, because I wasn't even dipping into admin. I was doing the minimum requirements of editing, and now I've ended up with like just lots of little bits that have built up, and that vlog is substantial. Like the amount of footage I have is substantial, so I'm going to edit that. That's my main priority. I really want it done because I'm doing sprints today and tomorrow, and I can't edit at the same time. My computer will not take it. Although I did get my laptop back yesterday. I went to pick it up after its repairs, but I hate upgrading my tech, because now that I've started using like an actual camera and an actual microphone for sprints, I don't want to go back to just like my laptop webcam and my laptop microphone. So yeah, I can't edit and sprint at the same time, and I don't want to anyway, because I want to actually commit to the 24-hour readathon, especially as I haven't been reading much over the last few days. So lastly, before I get on with that, my plan is to break up that in about half an hour with a workout, which I think I'm doing 30 minutes of upper body and 15 minutes of core today. But anyway, I received a parcel and I'm really excited about this. I'm sad that it has arrived in the middle of this vlog because I want to read it immediately. I am hyped regardless, because this, hey Brie, I know you are the cardboardy queen, aren't you? Oh! Thank you. Oh my god, this is not what I thought it was. This is it's an arc, but it's a different one. That is so cool. We got some love hearts here, and it says Gwen and Art are not in love on the back. Yeah, you can't have those. And this is a press release for a YA romance, which is chunkier than I thought it would be, which is Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher. This is a really cute proof, actually. Oh my god, it's got a scratch off on the front. Is that where it says not? I don't want to scratch it, but I do, but I don't. So this one is exciting to me. Like, I'm not a YA romance girly, you know that I'm not, but it is like a historical slash technically fantasy romance that is, it's not a retelling either. It is set in Camelot, and it's about Gwen and Arthur, but it's not a retelling. It's just like, I guess, inspired. It's set in Camelot, it's Gwen and Arthur, but it's not a retelling. I feel like that tells you everything you need to know about it, but I'm expecting it to be kind of cute, kind of fun, and just a little bit different from the things that I like typically read. So I'm actually really, this would be a good I was gonna say this would be a good contender for books to read for the 24-hour vlog this weekend, because I haven't heard anybody talk about this, because it is it's brand new, it's an arc. But I do really want to get to this soon, actually. It's actually quite long for a romance anyway. It's like 420 pages. It's an enemies to lovers or like a hate to love, and the characters are queer. Thank you very much to Bloomsbury for sending this one my way.
3, 2, 1, 15 seconds. Way to work. If this is your first time taking my class, you're probably like, whoa, this girl's like laughing 1 minute and then she's like, let's get to work. That's how I am.
So the 24-hour readathon is over. I read a fairy romance that I really enjoyed, and I had a grand old time doing so much so that I have now also downloaded the sequel from Kindle Unlimited, and I'm going to be chipping away at that at nighttime, just a couple of chapters a night, because I'm invested, and the first book was very much set up for things to come, and I'm excited to see what's to come. But as you can see, I am unvesting this because I'm DNFing it. I didn't read any of it. We didn't roll any doubles during the readathon, so I didn't actually manage to do what I said, which was read some of this and decide whether I was enjoying it or not. But I had no desire to come back to it, and then this morning I did read 2 chapters and I'm bored. I don't think I like tech sci-fi. I especially don't like YA tech sci-fi. I don't like the attitude of characters in books like this. It's very much like Lifelike by J. Kristoff, which is a J. Kristoff series that I do not like at all. I just don't like the tone and the like arrogance from the main characters that think that they're amazing, which I know is like a common theme in books in general, especially I would say like young adult. But yeah, it's just grating on me, and then the plot isn't that interesting. I don't care about the character, and while this conspiracy plot, I mean, I said this plot's not that interesting. If I kept reading this for anything, it would be to figure out the conclusion or like to get further in this conspiracy plot line, because the thing is that the main character is forced to do this mind walking thing that she does, that's her job, to show off to a bunch of like important people and investors, and she ends up being put into this very high stakes situation where an agent has been sent to steal some information, but it's a very high-tech facility that they didn't have any intel or like blueprints on. So the main character is supposed to go in, take over this woman and terminate her to save the company secrets, but instead she decides that she's going to carry out the mission, and there's something about this information that is extremely sensitive. So when she does in fact complete the mission, she returns back to her body and finds out that the director of the company that she works for has sent a warrant for her arrest for stealing company secrets, even though she just completed the mission that was assigned to her, but she doesn't really have a leg to stand on. She can't prove that she's right, so she has to go on the run, and she ends up like hooking up with this, or linking up, maybe hooking up from the way the story is going, with this guy from like a competing organization. And I think it seems to be leading up very clearly to the company that the main character works for being corrupt. So I made it 100, and I've just took my bookmark out, but it was like 108 pages. Yeah, 107. So a third of the way through the book, and there wasn't really anything interesting me. I don't think I like the setting of like a futuristic post-apocalyptic civilization. So like the apocalypse has happened, humans were resilient, society, civilization rose again, and it's also full of tech. I don't think that vibe is for me. So this one is a DNF, not doing very well. I'm pretty sure that all 6, including that one, books that I have left in this subscription for the rest of this log series have to be 4 or 5 stars for me to continue, but I haven't seen the actual graph for a while, so I'm not sure. But if that is so, then we're not off to a very good start, are we? But my next one is the one that I'm most excited to read, which is Silver Under Nightfall. This one, as far as I remember, is an adult fantasy about a vampire hunter who is trying to hunt down a new very dangerous breed of vampire, and he encounters, I think he's a he. Yeah, he's the only son of the Duke of Valenbon and an elite bounty hunter, and he encounters, I think, a vampire woman and teams up with her and her fiance to take down this new breed of vampires. But there's a romance in here somewhere as well, so I'm interested to see how that's going to develop. I know that, was it Sea Witch during my 24-hour readathon was reading this and really enjoying it, and Aaron is also currently reading this and said that it's such an easy read that it practically reads itself, which is, it swings and roundabouts for me, because if I know something's not going to be challenging going into it, then I assume it is going to read itself, and I don't put any effort into actually reading the book. Whereas if you gave me like Wheel of Time, I would put time and energy into reading it, so I'd end up reading it a lot faster than I would a quick, easy read. But I have been interested in this since I got it in the subscription and found out it existed, because I actually haven't heard anything about it outside of the Goldsboro subscription. But I have read the Bone Witch series by Rinchpecco, and I did really enjoy that. I actually did a series in a week vlog on it. So I'm interested to see what Rinchpecco has to deliver in like adult fantasy instead of YA.
Wide awake in an empty room, all alone with the thought of you. Thought I'd miss you more than I do, but I kinda like it. Should I try and hide it? Got drunk and I told you I loved you, on a night when we stayed out too late. Did I really love her? 'Cause I'm starting now to wonder, did I ever feel anything? But even though I gave back your things, from time to time you walk through my daydream. Tell me, what am I supposed to do? Your friends all say that
Great athletes because I'm really athletic, but I'm 34 years old and I may not find someone based on the criteria that I've put in place for myself. I'm ready to start a family.
My name is Lauren Speed and I'm 36. I am originally from Detroit.
don't know what I was expecting. See you out there living life. Wish I could say the same, but I still haven't.
So what?
Taking a picture of the card.
I'm gonna strike a pose. You feeling like a fine piece of ass?
Time to time you walk through my daydream. Tell me, what am I supposed to do? Your friends all say that you're doing fine. I know I told you, leave me behind. But tell me, what am I supposed to do? I got all these memories of you. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I got all these memories of you. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I got all these memories of you.
Good morning. It is the beginning of PMS week, which means that I am generally... Did I just say good morning? That shows you how much I'm struggling. It is the start of PMS week, which means that I'm feeling super fatiguey, super anxious. I just want to sleep constantly, which is a touch of the old depression. And I'm not doing the most reading. Like, I will admit, I'm struggling with reading, and my reading in February is so sporadic. I read like 0 to 50 pages a day, and then the next day I read like between 250 and 400 pages. But I have just done sprints with my patrons. My week ended up getting derailed, so I did Valentine's Day stuff and like board game and card game stuff with Curtis on Monday through Wednesday, and I ended up doing sprints with my patrons tonight instead. And I have made quite a dent in this, considering I was on page 30 this morning. I'm now on page 158, and I'm having very mixed feelings about this, because this started off very strong, and the more I get into this book, the less I actually enjoy it. So we're following a guy called Remington, or Remy for short, who is the son of a duke who was, as far as I can tell, he was like a notorious vampire hunter. But Remy's mother died during childbirth. Oh no, she was about to be turned into a vampire, and she was in the process of turning, I think, when she gave birth to Remy. So everybody thinks that he's like half vampire, and everybody's horrible to him. And aside from them hating him because of his birth, they also hate him because his father is like never got on with this influential guy in court. So he's a reaper, which is a vampire hunter, but he's not accepted among the rest of them, and they give him all of the shitty missions hoping that he's gonna die. So while he's completing his bounties, he discovers this kind of like mutilated vampire, which the world building in here, I don't feel like it's done the best way it possibly could be, because I'm so confused. We have these vampires that are actually more like zombies. They're more like berserked or frenzied vampires that are also mutilated, and they keep, like, if you kill them, they keep coming back to life and rebuilding their bodies, but like stronger and bigger every time. We also have, like, we hate vampires, okay? We kill vampires. We're in service to the queen. We're killing the vampires, but also there's vampire royalty and like nobility who have come as guests to like build an alliance, but the way the relationship they have with the queen is like they've known her for a long time. So like clearly not all vampires are bad. It seems to be some vampires like resist the frenzy and they're okay, and the ones that don't are the bad ones. So Remy meets one of these vampire nobles called Jourdan and her fiance, and they end up kind of becoming friends. Like Jourdan likes Remy, but the fiance doesn't. He's called Zayden, I think. But they end up taking him with them on a mission to discover the origins of this like mutilated zombie vampire virus thing, and also solve the murder of a powerful duke, because it seems that there is like a political plot line in here along with like the mutilated zombie vampire plot. I don't get it. I'm struggling. It's quite a fast-paced read, and it is given, like, I liked it at first because the atmosphere was given Interview with the Vampire, and I'm talking the movie, like the middle of the movie where Louis and, oh my god, Tom Cruise, what are you called, Lestat, are living it up and having the time of their lives. It was given that, and I really enjoyed that. Pretty much like set in the Regency era. But then all of a sudden I realized I was reading a scene where there were so many characters. It was after the murder of this duke, and they'd gone to investigate the crime scene, the murder scene, and there were so many people in the room, and it was given Justice of Kings by Richard Swan, which is the previous Goldsboro book that I DNF'd because it was given Agatha Christie in a fantasy world, which is not what I like to read. I'm not a mystery girly. I don't want a murder mystery in my fantasy. But up until that point, I was quite enjoying it. It's interesting actually because I DNF'd Mindwalker, and one of the things I said about it is that it felt very J. Kristoff, like YA J. Kristoff, and this feels kind of like Empire of the Vampire. I can't lie. It also has the like levity, like a little bit of the, it is levity, like where the character kind of breaks the tension of the situation, is like, oh shit, or says something kind of like funny and off the cuff in the moment. And with the whole like vampire hunter vibe, giving Empire of the Vampire very slightly. I feel like this started off strong. I feel like now it's relying a lot on dialogue and telling and not showing, which is not what I personally prefer to read. I feel like that kind of storytelling where it's very much like, let's all discuss the plot, is very first off murder mystery, which is not a genre that I enjoy, but also it gives TV, because TV is obviously like a lot of dialogue and scripting, and that's the format that I want, that like dialogue heavy telling, not showing media in. It's not in a book. So mixed feelings I guess so far, but we did start off strong and hopefully we can recapture that later on. Mel from Mel and Our Reads did say in the sprints that she's read this and she thinks that I'll prefer the second half, so fingers crossed that's true. Is everything quite alright at home? Like, blink if you need help, girl, because you look some kind of way down there. Or a gorgeous girl.
He's a gorgeous, gorgeous girl. Is it you?
I think it is.
I think it's you. Boop. Boop.
Good morning. I'm not looking amazing this morning. What time is it now? 9:20. But I was really unwell yesterday actually. I filmed a video in the morning and took photos for a bunch of thumbnails, and then I scheduled a couple of videos and finished editing one, and about, I want to say 12:30, I was just really sore and really drained feeling, and it is as I've mentioned, PMS week, so I thought that it was the usual cocktail of PMS symptoms coming to make my life miserable. Yeah, turns out I actually had a fever. I felt so, this is how bad I felt yesterday. I made a doctor's appointment. It's only on the 28th of February, but I was like, I cannot cope with this anymore, which then sent me into a little bit of a crisis because I have a health anxiety as well, which is why I've been putting off going to the doctors about it for so long. So I lost the majority of my day. I watched Love is Blind on the sofa until about 4 o'clock. I attempted to do the dishes and I cried about it. Curtis came home, made dinner, and I had a bath and then went to bed, and then by midnight my fever had broken and I feel a little bit better today, although I still have like some muscle ache in my back and things like that. But anyway, I didn't read a page yesterday because I actually physically just could not, like I couldn't do anything. The only thing that I had the mental capacity for was to watch Love is Blind. But I woke up this morning and all week I've been planning on taking Saturday as a chill day just to read because I haven't been doing too much of that, and also play some PlayStation. I woke up this morning and I sat down with my book and I don't want to read this. I really don't. I feel like you can tell that the people or person, because I don't know whose responsibility this is, the person who curates the Goldsboro subscription really like their historical fantasy, and they also really like their fast-paced stories, and I don't like either of them. So this one, I guess the pacing in this one's pretty fast, but this one definitely falls into the category of historical fantasy, even though it's not like it's high fantasy, but it has like a Regency era setting and a historical tone. But the reason why I just simply cannot continue with this, which I'm really sad about, because I read the first page of this and I had a really good feeling. I was loving the atmosphere, I was loving the drama and the glitz of the Regency era, but it's the whodunit tone to that I cannot stand it. This book is just a series of the main character walking into a room and being told stuff, and then he goes into another room with another group of people and they tell him some more stuff. He's fought a couple of vampires in the 180 pages of this that I've read, but in terms of investigative work, because we're trying to find out like who murdered this influential duke, as if anybody gives a fuck, he hasn't done any investigative work, and the investigative work that is being done by other people we're not seeing. We're only finding out about it when they come into a room and tell him about it. So I'm done. I cannot be bothered. I'm really sad about that as well, because obviously, one, I had good feelings about it, and two, it was the one that I thought was going to be my favourite. Another one bites the dust, I guess. I like Grinch Pecco as well, but I don't like this book. So I always have like an element of guilt as well when I'm DNFing books for this challenge, or any challenge actually, if we're doing a vlog and I'm DNFing everything, because it feels like I'm not actually doing what I set out to do. But the purpose of this vlog is to try out the Goldsboro subscription over a period of time and tell you guys how I feel, and realistically I'm feeling not great. We haven't had an installment this bad since the one where I read Justice of Kings, and I think Age of Ash was in that one as well, and I only managed to finish one book. I cannot remember what the third one was, but I'm a little bit worried because I know a lot of people have said that they really like the last book that I'm going to be reading for this video, which is The Immortality Thief, but I know it's a fast-paced sci-fi, so I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. But this one is about a guy, it's got gorgeous edges, it's about a guy who is offered, he can either go like spend life in prison or mine data from this abandoned ship, and he chooses to mine data from the ship, obviously, because why wouldn't you? And he finds some sensitive information that is valuable to a lot of people. So yeah, this one I know is fast-paced, or I've been told that it's pretty fast-paced. For sci-fi, that could be good. It's 604 pages. I didn't realize it was the longest. I mean, it is pretty thick, but 600 pages is a lot. Fingers crossed that this one is the one, otherwise this will literally be the worst installment of the Goldsboro vlog series that I've ever done. And I guess we're not keeping this subscription. They have just announced their April book, so I'm going to keep it up until April, although I'm not going to do any more installments in this vlog series past reading the book for February, just because I want that April book, which is it Dragonfall by L.R. Lamb. But yeah, I feel like I should just go ahead and cancel this subscription because I know for a fact that we haven't made the pass rate at this point. I'm stressed. I wasn't stressed until I just looked at my pothos. You know, at the end of the 24-hour vlog that I just posted, I was saying that my ivy's got yellowing leaves and I don't know what it was. They're still yellowing. It's been a really bad winter for me and plants. Like my monstera got thrips, which it's still recovering from, and it's not looking great. This ivy's going out the window. I've got an ivy up there that isn't looking too great. Two of my ivies are still doing fine, but all of my plants that were previously thriving not having a great winter. So, and I get some sort of childhood trauma, you know, like if things go badly, and it's got worse the more generally like anxious I've got over the years, but if things go badly I panic and like it's ruined and I can't bear to look at it because the feelings that it gives me are just overwhelming. So stressing out about that. But in episode 290 of What the Fuck Is Happening With My Life at the minute, actually no, let's wind it back to 289. I've been ill over the weekend, like genuinely ill. I think actually, you know, I had the fever well the day after, the day that I did the update in my Oodie, which was that the last update? Who even knows at this point? Anyway, I was ill that day, so I think I've given myself food poisoning, but I don't know how, because Curtis is fine, and in terms of immune systems, Curtis tends to get a lot more ill than I do when we both have something at the same time, and he's fine. So I'm not sure what I did. The only thing that we've eaten differently is that he went to his dad's to watch football on Thursday, and I'd made myself Iceland chicken wings. But when I say I overcook those, I think the pack says to cook them for 25 to 30 minutes, and I always cook them for 45, so they are like overcooked. But yeah, I'm feeling much better today in that regard, which thinking about it, I've only just realised, because I don't have like a stomach ache or headache or anything like I did yesterday. But I'm waiting on a call back from the hospital because 3 weeks ago I dropped a PlayStation controller on my foot, and I think there's potential that I have very, very slightly fractured my foot, like tiny fractures, because it doesn't hurt a lot. And I've actually, the bone that I suspect is injured is a bone that I've broken before. When I was a kid, I rolled my ankle when I was in primary school, and it swelled up like ridiculously big, and I had to go, like a boy carried me to the office and I had to go to hospital, and I was in a cast for like 12 weeks, and it's such a small bone to break. It was very dramatic, but it was horrible. So I dropped a controller on my foot, and I didn't actually think anything of it. It hurt in the moment, but it was fine. And then I went to take Brie for a walk, and I was like, you know what, actually my foot really hurts. And it only hurts in certain circumstances, like when I wear a particular pair of trainers or when I'm walking upstairs, like I can feel the pain, and it is in, so like say this is your foot, this bone here where your like toe connects to your foot, it's in this dip here that it's really sore. So the pain isn't extreme. I actually have similar pain in my hand at the minute, because sometimes I have like I don't want to say a weakness, but if I've been doing a lot of like planks or yoga with like hand suspension, I can get a bit of an ache throughout like this part of my hand. And over the last, like after the first week, it kind of went away, and then I rolled my ankle walking Brie and it came back. And then like for example, I think 2 days ago I was fine, and then what did I do? I think I dodged Brie when we took her for a walk, and it was sore again. And then I woke up yesterday and it was fine. And then I dodged Ham in the kitchen, and then it was sore again. So it's not, essentially I think I just need to rest it, but it seems very dramatic without a medical professional looking at it and telling me like, this is what's going on, you need to rest it, for me to just go, I'm not walking anywhere for 2 weeks, guys, because I need to heal. So I'm waiting for a call back on that. It's all go. I haven't been to the doctors in, I want to say 4 years, and now I have an appointment for next Tuesday to talk about my PMS. I'm waiting on a call back for the hospital, and I actually think that's it, to be honest. I just had food poisoning, but that was fine. If it was food poisoning, I don't know. Anyway, I have an update about a book that I currently don't have with me. I'm gonna go get that. My wrist. The thing is as well, like I said, I have a similar pain in my hand and my wrist right now. This will go away in a couple of days and it won't bother me for a couple of months again. But this is fine, because like I can rest this, like don't weight bear and don't rely on it too much, and it will be fine, where I can't not weight bear on my foot, you know, which is the issue. And I have a lot of plans this year, which I don't want to fuck up by further injuring myself. So I just want it sorted, which is very unlike me and my health anxiety. But anyway, The Immortality Thief by Taran Hunt. I am 224 pages into this, so it's already more successful than either of the 2 books that I've attempted to read for this vlog so far. And I am enjoying it, but I'm also like, there's bits that I'm not. It's very interesting. In terms of like a sci-fi, it is what I enjoy in a sci-fi. It's a sci-fi horror, I think I would say. Which is why I'm enjoying it, because that's actually a genre that I really enjoy, that I don't know that I enjoy, because every book that I pick up that has those elements, like the horror element, it's always a surprise. Like I remember when I read Illuminate by J. Christopher Amy Kaufman, and that has a horror element, and it was actually really unsettling. And I don't read a ton of horror, and I don't know whether I'm reading the wrong horror, but the horror that I've read doesn't actually especially scare me. But sci-fi horror, man, does that scare me. And there's one instance right at the beginning of this book where they're crawling through a tunnel. They're in this abandoned ship, as I said from the, I'll give you a full synopsis in a minute, but they're in this abandoned ship, and it's been abandoned for like 1,000 years, and they're crawling to like a different part of the ship, but like it's a tunnel that's been blocked up intentionally, and it's been sat there for 1,000 years, so any disturbance can send all this debris, like causing the tunnel to crash. And the main character going through the tunnel experiences a claustrophobia in a way that I felt as the reader, as somebody who is like slightly claustrophobic. So I thought that that was really well done. But this is about a guy who he's been arrested for attempted murder. I don't think he did actually attempt to murder anyone. I feel like it was either an accident, a misunderstanding, or something that he's being framed for to get him into this situation where he'll accept this task. But a senator of the Republic wants the Philosopher's Stone, which is the cure to mortality, I guess, if you consider mortality to be an affliction, which I guess I kind of do, to be honest. They're looking for the Philosopher's Stone, and this is something that humans discovered 1,000 years ago, but this alien race called the Ministers just appeared out of nowhere and started slaughtering humanity and set humanity back like hundreds of years in terms of like technological advancements. So this senator wants the Philosopher's Stone, and he thinks that he's located the data on this ship. So he's putting together a list of people who pretty much have nothing left to lose. They're facing life in prison, or they can go do this task and earn a whole ton of money in the process, as well as their freedom. And our main character is a language specialist. So him and a boy that he's known since he was a child, and 2 women, one who is a fellow prisoner and one who's like a government official for the Republic, go to this ship and they only have, I think, 11 days to find the data and get out of there before the sun that the ship is near goes into supernova. So as soon as they get there, they discover that there is life on this ship. There's a whole ton of other stuff that's thrown in their way, like some other people turn up and essentially they expected to go to this abandoned wreckage, and they find out that there's actually like a whole ton of stuff on there, and they're trying to get to the bottom of like what happened with the Philosopher's Stone, what happened to the humans that were on the ship, what happened 1,000 years ago that put the ship in this position, and also like what that meant for the rest of humanity across the galaxy. So it does have quite a lot of horror elements in here. There's a lot of suspense. The things that I don't like about it, I would say, is sometimes the main character's personality. He excuses his decisions and mistakes and his reckless behavior as having this like mischievous imp that lives inside of him, and every time he does something kind of off the cuff in a tense situation, he's like, oh well, the imp has risen. It's really annoying, and it can be a little, you know me, I don't love a fight scene, so there can be a lot of that kind of high action scene going on in here, where what I'm really in here for is the horror element and also the mystery, because this guy is the only person on this ship who can actually understand the language of the language of the ship. Like the computers and all of the data is in a language that only he can read. So as he's going through, he's piecing together this information, and it's actually given, even though it's in space, it's given like PlayStation 1 Resident Evil games where you're piecing together like what's happened with like Raccoon City and the Umbrella Corporation, that kind of vibe, which I'm really enjoying. So at the minute, I say it has potential. I feel like it's going to be a 3 or 4 star. The only thing is that we're having plot twists that I kind of guessed, because I'm putting it together like as the characters progress through this. So we're getting plot twists and stuff at this point, and I'm like a third of the way through. So I'm like, well, okay, well, what's going to happen in the next 400 pages? Because things that I thought were going to be major revelations in this book have already happened. So ideally, I'll finish this book tomorrow. Oh no, it is tomorrow. I was gonna say, because tomorrow's the last day of February. February for me is going not slowly, but there's still a full week of February left. But essentially I want that full week to do like a weekly vlog in. So ideally I'll finish this tomorrow, but I do still have 400 pages left. So we'll see. If I do end up going to the hospital or the doctors today, I'll take my book with me and I'll read a chunk. But I started watching Love is Blind. I am obsessed, and I'm up to the episode with the weddings. One wedding has happened and I was shook. So I'm desperate to continue with that as well. I've been watching an episode in bed because when I've been getting anxious, it's one of the, I need like a mindless thing that's easy to consume. Love is Blind is doing it for me, but I'm super excited to watch the wedding episode and then watch, because obviously I'm super late to Love is Blind, the like 2 years on reunion kind of episodes. I'm so excited. happy Tuesday. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll finish that book today. I'm not feeling hopeful though. But the reason why I'm actually popping in is pretty much for no reason. I just wanted to let you guys know that it's Pancake Day, and I typically don't really care. But the reason why I don't care is because I hate like pre-made pancake mix. I just don't feel like you're getting a good pancake. But what I do love is American pancakes, so we're gonna go to Asda. And I got buttermilk the other day in case they sold out everywhere, because I just want to make American pancakes. But we're gonna go to Asda and get some supplies, and then I'm going to attempt making not only just generally pancakes from scratch for the first time, but specifically like buttermilk pancakes. So wish me luck, I guess, because I do like to cook, but like things like a pancake is not my area of expertise. Like I could make you a cracking cottage pie, and in fact I am going to tonight. Not for you, but in general. But when it comes to things like pancakes, it's a little bit more hairy. You know what? I think I did a pretty good job. So I did it. I managed to finish the Immortality Thief, the only successful book from this entire vlog. I gave this a low 4-star. Throughout all of this, I really didn't know whether it was going to come out as a 3 or a 4, because I feel like it did a lot of things well, and I enjoyed those elements that it did well, but there were a few parts of it that I struggled to connect to as well. So something that I really liked about this was the horror elements. I did think that they got a bit repetitive in the first instances, like the creativity shown by the author in some of these like alien species. I don't really want to spoil this for you because it has that horror element and like the element of the unknown, but there's like some alien stuff going on here, and then there's also like classic horror things in here like claustrophobia that actually made me a little bit panicky as somebody who is, I'm not necessarily claustrophobic, like I could go stand in my closet and be fine if you close the door on me, but the thought of being buried alive or trapped in a lift, terrifying. Thought that it did that really well. I also really liked the plot twist throughout here. I thought that it was very well thought out and everything made sense in terms of the plot and the science. I liked the side characters and the kind of theme of overcoming differences for the greater good that we had running throughout this. I didn't love the main character, and a lot of this book focuses on trauma and the fact that we have the humans and we have the ministers, and the ministers appeared, as I mentioned, 1,000 years ago just out of nowhere, and amongst a whole ton of other atrocities, one of the things that they've done is slaughtered all of the people in the city that the main character is from. So he keeps returning back to this moment where he went home, because he was in detention when it happened, which is how he survived. He went home and he found his sister like murdered in her bedroom, and this is something that is very ingrained into him and something that he keeps returning back to. He keeps returning to this moment of trauma throughout the entire book, and like something will be happening and he'll relate it back to a day in his childhood or relate it back to his sister, because he feels immense guilt because himself and his sister were always arguing. So on the day that she died, it wasn't a day that he was particularly nice to her. So I did find that to be a little bit tedious, although the theme of trauma was also relevant to the plot at points throughout this story. I also really liked how the characters were searching for this Philosopher's Stone data, and it's one of those books, you know, like where you're interested, like I want to be uncovering the data that they're uncovering and being able to read through it and find out the secrets along with them. And it felt very video gamey in that way, which I have mentioned how it feels like Resident Evil, where you're picking up all of these like notes and trying to put together the big picture. So there was a lot that I did enjoy about this, but I didn't love the fight scenes. I fully zoned out throughout all of them and kind of just like regained consciousness as we were coming to the end and like figuring out the aftermath. After the first instances of some of this alien horror stuff that was going on, I was kind of glossing over parts of that when it came into confrontation kind of situations, and the main character, like I wasn't I felt like I wasn't as connected into this story as I could be, especially considering it has an element of found family. My favorite character in here is Indigo, and I really liked him, but I liked the found family as it came together. Just the main character, like, he was fine. I didn't necessarily dislike him, although he is a little bit annoying, but I didn't connect to him in a way that makes this book something that I think is going to stick with me, which is sad. 100%. I mean, the only success of this video, but if I'd have finished it, it would have been more successful than anything else in this video. So if we come to, I guess, the wrap up of this installment, it's not the worst installment, because in the worst installment I DNF'd 2 books, and the one that I read I gave 3 stars. So I enjoyed this one more than that. But I have written an email to Goldsboro to skip my March book. I do want that copy of Dragonfall, so I will be getting that. And what I'm going to do is, you get 3 skips a year with Goldsboro, so I'm going to utilize those skips to skip as much as I can to get any editions that I want, because then I also have access to the like any pre-orders. Essentially I get pre-sale access to all of their science fiction and fantasy titles, which is pretty good. I do also want like a couple of sequels of books that I've read like throughout this experiment. I think there's actually only one. Of all the books I've read, I think there's only one sequel that I'm looking out for. This one I spoke to Aaron about, because I knew that Aaron was reading it, and she did say that where I finish this is about the part where it gets good. But something about me when it comes to reading stuff is, it takes me a long time to make the decision to be done. Like, I will suffer, I will put myself through discomfort. I won't read very much during that time, because I'll pick a book up and all I'll think about while I'm reading it is how much I don't want to, which slows me down. So I'll only read like 20 pages at a time. I'll persevere for a few days, and then it takes me a long time to come to the decision to be done. When I've made that decision, there's no going back. So there's no chance of me going like, oh well, maybe I'll give it another 100 pages. I will never return to this book, but I am very sad that I didn't like this one. This one I didn't expect much from, and it didn't give me much, so it's absolutely fine to me that that one was a DNF. But I am a little bit sad about this one. I could have persevered with it. It would have potentially been a 3-star, but there's just something about that whodunit style and like groups of characters just in a room telling each other about the clues that they found that I really don't like. And I don't know whether it's because my mum loved crime, loved whodunits. There was nothing on in my house ever that wasn't crime. So now I don't know whether it's just that now that I have the freedom to consume the media that I actually want to, that anything that reminds me of all of the media I was forced to consume is an absolute turn off. But yeah, whodunits aren't for me. If you like Justice of Kings, maybe you'll like this one, because I DNF that one for pretty much the exact same reason. So yeah, I will still be doing just one more installment. We're getting to a point now where I'm skipping and cancelling the subscription, because as you've seen from the graph, it's not looking good. But there will be one more installment to read the books from December through to February, hopefully coming in March. And yeah, I'm sorry if you wish I'd finished a couple of these books. I do too, to be honest. I do hope you've enjoyed this vlog if you've made it this far. Next week is just going to be a standard weekly reading vlog as I go through some of the books on my February TBR, because I've read absolutely none of them and I only have a week left. But if you did enjoy this vlog, please don't forget to like if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.